Good evening. My name's Brendan Richmond. I'm also, for the course of this video, representing Ryan Franklin and Garrett Williams. The three of us are part of a small independent team of student developers and artists. We're currently calling ourselves Team MindSync. We're making games. I'm here to show you a game that we've been developing for the last 3 months called Proxima Centauri. We presented it at Texas State Technical College at Waco yesterday to representatives from both the school and from some game development companies in Texas. Um, and suffice it to say, we were best in show. I'm going to show you the installation and configuration procedure for our game as it's currently built. Now, I haven't actually changed the game since we showed it yesterday. So the version you're seeing is identical to the one that we presented in the auditorium. We had some technical glitches in the auditorium relating to their network. And so one of the reasons we're doing this video is so anybody who's interested can see how our game actually works when it's configured properly and when there's a good internet connection. I'm going to actually walk you through installing, setting up, configuring, starting a server, and then we're going to play the game until we lose. It's probably going to be about 20 minutes of gameplay, and I'll estimate this video, this introduction, going to be about 5 or 6 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it brief, but I have a tendency to ramble. This is a setup executable. It's about 450 megs, 463. It's pretty simple. It's just a dialog box. It's just your standard setup wizard. Hit next, continue. We don't have a license agreement. We don't believe in that. Hit next here because it's gonna, saying where it's gonna install it, and then it's telling you it's gonna also put it in your start menu. You should probably install both of these things, but I already have them. The DirectX June 2010 end user runtime and the Visual C++ 2010 end user runtime. Probably don't need to be installed if you play games, but I would recommend installing them just so you can, get rid of any errors. Microsoft.NET Framework 4 is the wild card here. If you're running Windows 7 or 8, you don't need to install that. It comes with the OS. On Vista, you will need to install it, and our game does not work on XP. I might build a version that does, but I don't know if there's a need for that because XP is 15 years old. I'm going to have it make me a desktop icon too. And it just gives you an overview of the things that you selected. I'm going to hit install. The install process should be pretty quick. This is a fast computer and it's a small installer. It takes up about 800 megs of space on the hard drive. Recommend you have a little bit more than that. Just, if you have less than a gig, you might want to think about cleaning up your disk a little. It's going to extract it all. Okay. Now the program has started, and I'm going to show you our launcher. This is our launcher. It says version 1.0. We're actually 0.3.1 beta right now. We didn't actually plan on having a launcher in the game until we had it released, and I went ahead and made it anyway because it's not a very large program. We have a configuration file editor. It's not as intuitive as I want, so this is definitely subject to change. But you can change just about every setting in the game, and as we add more, we're probably going to have more things here. The configuration is stored per user. Your configuration isn't going to step on somebody else who uses your computer if you both play our game. And the default setting should be good for most people. I'm going to, actually I want full screen on. This doesn't actually change the full screen size. The full screen size is going to be whatever your desktop resolution is. Most computers that are from the last 3 or 4 years, if they've got a dedicated video card, should be able to run everything in this game turned up all the way. It's not Crisis or anything. But I think it looks pretty good. You can rebind your keys here. You can also choose to use a controller or disable it. If You have an Xbox 360 controller, a wired or a wireless one, bound to your computer. It'll automatically disable mouse and keyboard controls, and all of the prompts and help will change to use the Xbox 360 specific stuff. You can't rebind those commands yet. To change your key bindings, you click that button if you need help, and it'll show you the actual scan code values, and you just type those in here. The defaults are pretty standard for a game. It's, you know, WASD, Q and E to turn. You can also use the mouse. F to interact. Space for a secondary kind of action. Shift to sprint. The chat key, which isn't yet implemented, is going to be V. You can change your mouse and camera sensitivities. I like them best at 1, probably because I programmed that input. And so we've also got some miscellaneous fixes here. Leave cursor free is kind of, it will interrupt your game. It makes the game a lot less fun because your mouse will run off the screen. But it prevents direct input from binding your cursor. There's disable arrow. It's mostly an AMD fix, but some other graphics cards might have the problem too. If you get a black screen when you start the game, you want to use that. I'm going to save it because I think I have it all. You can reset them here, but I'm not going to do that. And we have a little help thing that will kind of walk you through it and explain basically what I've already explained. We've got a 32-bit and a 64-bit build of the game. It's recommended that you use a 64-bit version. They're exactly the same, other than that the 64-bit version will take advantage of 64-bit processors, and the 32-bit version won't. You can't launch it on a 32-bit OS. To figure out, if you don't already know, to figure out whether your operating system and CPU are 64-bit or not, if you're on Windows 7, I'll walk you through that. Come down here, Start, you go to Computer, and you right-click on it, and you hit Properties. You'll get this little window. It will, give you a little overview, your processor, your RAM, your Windows Experience Index. It'll also tell you system type, and for me it's a 64-bit operating system, so I'm going to launch the 64-bit version. We have a dedicated server program. You can't host the game without a server, so if you want to actually host the game in multiplayer, you actually have to launch a server. We did this way because it was a little easier to program like this, and it was a lot easier to debug. We might end up bringing the ability to host the game from your client, but probably not. It just performs better this way. There's no overhead on the server having to render and do all the game logic too. You hit F1, you'll see help, which just basically tells you need to have your computer on a DMZ or have the port forwarded. The port should be 21246. We need to update this dialog. Tells you can kick players, but the server is mostly automated. It'll pretty much do things on its own. It has a logging component, so if there's any problems with the server, you can always send us the log. Hitting F8 shows you some credits. Basically, that the credits to the fonts that we used. We're using checkip.dynedns.org to parse the server's external IP address, because there's no way to get that through Windows. I'm going to start the server. Since I've started the server before, it's not popping up, but usually a Windows firewall will pop up and ask you to allow it. A program is safe as far as we know. If you find any huge security vulnerabilities, I'd love to know how, what they are and how to fix them if you're a security guy. And now the server is up, so I'm going to get Ryan Franklin, and I'm going to get my fiance, and we're going to network a game, and we're going to play it until we lose. Wish us luck.